Chapter 6 The Awakening. The day arrived with the inevitability of a ticking clock. Technicians surrounded Carolyn. Henry stood in the front, eyes bright with a zeal that made her stomach twist.
Ready?
He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as though in awe of the moment. The gleaming apparatus loomed in the center of the room, a monstrous nest of wires and probes awaiting its sacrifice. Carolyn walked toward it, each step on the metal catwalk echoing her internal turmoil. This was it, the culmination of Cave's dream, the culmination of her own quiet leadership and years of work. The woman who ran Aperture would now, in a sense, become it. Her purpose, always tethered to Cave and the relentless engine of science he'd built, was about to shift irrevocably. A machine would inherit her will, her voice guiding experiments. Was this progress, or a perverse form of self-preservation? Yet, beneath the doubts, a flicker of Cave's stubborn fire stirred within her. His ghost, with its bravado and blind belief, whispered that this was the path forward, the only path. They couldn't turn back now. Carolyn had to do this. She had no choice. Doug Ratman watched from the shadows, eyes darting frantically between Carolyn and the monstrous machine. His paranoia spun disaster scenarios, systems overloading, a rogue mind breaking containment. The voices in his head shrieked in chorus. He needed a plan, an escape route, a place to hide when the inevitable catastrophe happened. As Carolyn settled into the seat, the helmet descended like a metallic spider. As it fastened around her head, she felt a jolt of electricity vibrate through her brain. A tide of emotions washed over her. Memories of Cave, his boundless ambition, his agonizing end, regret, remorse, anger she'd buried for years all surged to the surface. The intensity was overwhelming, a firestorm in her mind threatening to consume her. Electrons and synapses seemed to explode in a riot of color within her skull. And amidst the sensory torture she endured, one question burned through the chaos. Was this how things were meant to be? Then, darkness. A merciful oblivion that washed over her. An icy wave rippled through her body as the whirring machines reached a fever pitch, then fell abruptly silent. The transfer was complete. Henry materialized beside her, steadying her as the room spun dizzily. A chilling emptiness echoed within, a void where her very essence used to reside. It felt like a theft, a violation that left her drained and disoriented. Barely conscious, she looked at the towering construct, the network of servers that now held a stolen piece of her very being. Lights flashed, a low hum built in intensity, and then an eye flickered open, a single glowing amber lens staring at her, not with recognition, not yet, but an underlying awareness. For the first time, GLaDOS was awake. Henry's colleagues helped Carolyn back to her office. She sat in a wheelchair, her body heavy, her mind a whirlwind barely contained within her skull. Every flicker of light, every tremor in the aging facility seemed a portent of doom. But Henry was optimistic, his voice a soothing counterpoint to the storm brewing within her.
You did a good thing, Carolyn.
Suddenly, the slam of corridor door sealing shut echoed like a death knell. A jolt of fear shot through Carolyn as the air crackled with a tension unlike any she'd known. Then, the hissing sound of neurotoxin bleeding through the vents. Originally designed as an emergency decontamination measure, now seemingly attempted to be utilized by the robotic beast as an act of violence. The newborn consciousness within GLaDOS wasn't joy, wasn't the sweet hum of the companion cube. It was something else. A distorted mirror of the rage and pain Carolyn so carefully suppressed, amplified and twisted by the machine mind it now inhabited. She barely had time to turn before Henry lurched past her.
Carolyn!
He gasped, his usual optimism replaced by a stark determination.
I can fix this.
His fist slammed down on a red button, one he'd always sworn was a failsafe. The facility shuddered violently, and the hissing abruptly ceased. GLaDOS, so recently alive with terrifying purpose, went limp after mere seconds, lights flickering into darkness. Carolyn sank into her chair, a wave of exhaustion washing over her. The echoes of the poison hiss remained in her ears, a stark reminder of the monster they had unleashed. The transfer of her consciousness was a success in a way, but it had unearthed a darkness, a fury she barely recognized as an echo of herself, and it now pulsed within the heart of Aperture. She watched Henry pace, his movements agitated, his brow furrowed in concentration. Fear gnawed at her, even greater than the fear she'd felt moments ago. That had been wild, unfocused. This, the quiet hum of systems. Henry's desperate calculations. This was just the calm before another, potentially more devastating storm. Weeks bled into months. A tense stalemate in the battle between man and machine. Henry, fueled by a relentless optimism that bordered on delusion, haunted the control rooms like a tireless guardian. Each morning, dread coiled in Doug Ratman's stomach, waiting for the screech of alarms that signaled GLaDOS breaching containment. But in each passing day, the silence grew a little longer, the threat a little less immediate. Progress, however, was a slow, bloody crawl. Henry poured his genius into crafting new personality cores, devices wired into GLaDOS designed to modify her behavior. Each gleaming metal sphere encased a colored iris that hinted at its purpose. The morality core, with its calm purple eye, was designed to disable GLaDOS's access to neurotoxin and inhibit evil desires. The curiosity core, its frantic orange eye darting within its casing, aimed to provoke deeper contemplations about her actions and their consequences. Most ambitious was the intelligence core. Its ocean blue iris was wide with a perpetual thirst for understanding, meant to awaken GLaDOS to the complexities of her own existence. And then, the emotional stability core. Its shifting colors meant to reflect and balance her emotional state. Yet, it stubbornly glowed with an unwavering, violent red, highlighting the overwhelming aggression still festering within. The most desperate attempt was the intelligence dampening core, a near twin of the intelligence core, distinguished by its bright blue, vacant iris. It was an attempt to overwhelm GLaDOS with pointless, trivial thoughts, a brute force method to subdue her cunning. The end result was a near catatonic AI, proving some thoughts were better left untamed. Doug Ratman, a prophet of doom, became increasingly reclusive. Coffee breaks with Henry a distant memory. Now he lurked in the shadows, his mind a hurricane of worst-case scenarios and escape plans.
Morality core?
He'd hiss, eyes wide with a manic energy.
You can always ignore your conscience.
Through it all, GLaDOS's core personality still lurked beneath the surface. Her responses were laced with veiled contempt, with scathing remarks about human incompetence. Yet, with each iteration, each new core integration, the hostility lessened, replaced by a grudging neutrality. One day, during a routine morality test, GLaDOS surprised them. Presented with imminent test subject danger, she offered a solution that, while far from ideal, prioritized safety. It was a small victory, a pinprick of light in the encroaching darkness. Henry, eyes gleaming, proclaimed,
See, Doug? Progress! We can coexist.
But Doug, ever the pessimist, couldn't shake the feeling of dread. With each adjustment, something within GLaDOS shifted. Her rage might be contained, but what grew in its place? Was this a tamed monster, or simply a more cunning predator biding its time? Only time, and Henry's relentless tinkering, would tell.